Hi, welcome back. I'm continuing in the vein of looking at Homer's Odyssey to help you with your studies for this term. Today's video is all about Telemachus' journey and the Telemachy. The Telemachy is a particular section of Homer's Odyssey. The Odyssey itself is about Odysseus, a Greek hero trying to return home. But unusually in the epic, we do not meet the hero first. We actually meet his son Telemachus. And for the first 4 books of Homer's Odyssey, so 4 of 24, and we can think of those as chapters of a whole poem, we're actually meeting Odysseus' son before we meet Odysseus himself. So today's video we're going to look at what the Telemachy adds to the Odyssey as a whole, and what the character of Telemachus can tell us about Ithaca and masculinity in Ithaca, and the expectations that he needs to fulfill as the son of Odysseus. So at the outset of Homer's Odyssey, we're in Ithaca and we're looking at Telemachus because it shows us what is at stake for Odysseus coming home. Homecoming in this epic can be referred to as nostos. Nostos is a Greek value, and when we say home versus house in English, it gets a little bit closer to the idea of homecoming. So home isn't just the place, the location, which would be the palace in Ithaca, because Odysseus is the king of that region of Greece. But it's really about the family and the people who make that house a home, and actually what the situation is within that oikos or household, rather than just the physicality of the place. At the outset of the Odyssey, Odysseus' household is under threat, is in real trouble, and the Telemachy shows us this. By showing us the state of Odysseus' household through the eyes of a son he's not really got to know because he left for Troy, this adds pathos and anticipation to the return of Odysseus. Telemachus is in adolescence. So Odysseus went and fought at Troy for 10 years. He's been on Calypso's island, as we'll discover in book 5, for about 5 or 6 years. So his son is maybe mid-teens at this point. It's hard to pinpoint his exact age, but he's at a crucial point in his life where he's kind of at a coming of age. And he's there as the kind of ward of his mum, Penelope. So Penelope is the woman of the household, but according to ancient Greek traditional values, every household should have a kurios. The word kurios means caretaker. And really this would be any kind of male authority figure. It could be a woman's husband, it could be a woman's father, it could be a woman's brother. Is basically the man of the house. And again, don't come from me, these are ancient values. So in that household, weirdly, even though Telemachus is a teenager, he should kind of be the one taking charge. The problem, of course, is that the house is completely full of suitors who are attempting to marry Penelope in Odysseus' absence. And Penelope has to manage this situation as best she can. When we meet them, Telemachus might be a teenager, but we get the impression that this power imbalance has been a problem for a while. The suitors are all around the house, and Telemachus is at times really critical of Penelope and doesn't understand why she tries to keep these men interested. The phrase that springs to mind is treat them mean and keep them keen. The way that Penelope does this is by promising to marry these men, having woven a shroud for Odysseus' father. So she says that she's going to finish weaving a burial shroud for her father-in-law, which makes her seem like a great and dutiful wife, no one can argue with that. And she unpicks it at night in order for the task to never be complete. If we look at this tactically, it shows that Penelope, like her husband Odysseus, has great metis or cunning, because she's able to see that the suitors would be a threat if they thought they were being openly rejected. And she's also at a crucial point where Telemachus is not old enough and not able to really step in and kick the suitors out all on his own. He's not a respectable authority figure. We see in the first books of the Telemachy him really being pushed around by the suitors because he's considered to be a little boy. The game changer in the Telemachy is when Athena arrives. And Athena arrives in disguise as a character named Mentor. Now this is really unsurprising because, as we'll learn throughout the Odyssey, but we've also seen in book 1 when the gods meet, Athena has got Odysseus' back. So just like, for example, Achilles is backed by his divine mother Thetis in the Iliad, in the Odyssey, Odysseus is backed by the goddess Athena. Not because she's his mother, but perhaps because he's seen to be of special merit to Athena. And remember, she's the goddess of war and wisdom, so her picking a very cunning and very wise soldier who, above all, survives, is actually quite fitting and gives us a bit of an endorsement for Odysseus himself. So Athena arrives disguised as Mentor, an elderly kind of male character, and really a paternal figure for Telemachus. When Mentor arrives, Telemachus is in charge of trying to execute what we'd call a hospitality scene, and in Greek this term is xenia. The premise of xenia isn't just about making your guests welcome and getting the Marks and Spencer's biscuits out. It is a very specific practice. You have to invite the person in without knowing who they are. Xenia is from the word xenos, meaning a stranger or a foreigner, and the premise of it is that any stranger could be a god in disguise, so you need to behave. Once you've let them in, you need to give them the opportunity to wash, you need to give them the best seat, you need to give them food and drink, and only then, when they have had their fill of eating and drinking, it's a formula you'll see all the time, can you ask them questions and ask them who they are. And when Mentor has this consultation with Telemachus and Telemachus bumbles his way through a hospitality scene, Mentor recommends that Telemachus goes and learns about his father from the men who served with him in the Trojan War. And so Telemachus heads out in order to meet Nestor and also to meet Menelaus in Sparta. He was there with Helen. It's a bit awkward. Nestor and Menelaus provide endorsements for Odysseus and talk about how brave he is and what kind of warrior he was. On one level, this supports Athena's suggestion. It supports Telemachus' coming of age as he's learning what it means to be a man in the Homeric world and also what his father was like. It adds anticipation for Odysseus' return because Telemachus seems to really miss him. But also for us as an audience, it really primes us to meet Odysseus. It gives us opinions of the character before we meet the character himself. So before Odysseus does anything, he's being characterised by a reputation. Remember, a key Homeric value is kleos, which is fame or glory, and it suggests that other people's opinion of you is who you are, in a way. So this is dripped into us through Telemachus' interviews with Nestor, the horse lord of the Iliad, the elderly man who everybody listens to, who's very, very respected, and Menelaus, who initiated the whole Trojan War because Helen had been stolen by Paris, or she'd run off with Paris. See how judgmental you want to be about that. So, by the time we meet Odysseus in Book 5, we know what's at stake. We know that Telemachus is trying to fill his father's shoes, and we're keen to see him get home and see father and son reunited. And that kind of paternal dynamic is so important when we see Odysseus return in Ithaca and we see him kind of integrate back into his household. I'm going to continue making Odyssey videos to help you with your studies through this term. And if you like my channel, don't forget to like, subscribe and share to keep it going. If you're really interested in finding merchandise on classics, take a look at my Redbubble store. And if you have any suggestions on artwork you'd like to see or videos you want to see, just comment below and let me know. I always take it into consideration. Alright, thanks.